Hey, what's going on, guys? It is 0 Hour, episode 11. Tim Lloyd in the house with my man, Jeff Hobbs, and we appreciate you joining us. We are coming off the heels of Underground 2, went down in Smashville this past Saturday night, November the 20th, and that means it's recap show. So to get ready for some Turkey Day, Jeff. Getting the show in a little bit earlier today on a Wednesday, so I'm guessing it'll be dropping a day earlier than usual out there in YouTube land. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there, and we're going to run through what happened out in Nashville.
Yeah, man. Yes, definitely happy Thanksgiving to everybody. It's coming up. By the time this thing drops, like you said, it should be Turkey Day tomorrow. So we're going to go ahead and get this out early, shut it down. We have been nonstop busy for the last month, man. 4 weeks being involved in 3 shows, 2 of our own, one for Taylor Hood down here in Nashville, running that for him. So it has been nonstop, and it is a much deserved break for everyone. So
Nearly
uh,
50 fights over the course of the last 3 weeks.
that's crazy, man. Those are crazy numbers, and to not just pull it off, but pull it off pretty seamlessly, something to be proud of. So, man, but let's knock the pleasantries out, man. Let's talk about this show. I know we got to dabble a tad on UFC, which I can go ahead and sum that up quick. Jeff took another L on picks. We can move on after that.
Yeah, super quick, guys. UFC Vegas 43. We're just going to go over our picks because honestly, I don't think hardly any of us even had time to watch the show. It was happening simultaneously with the event out in Nashville. So I don't think it sounds like we missed a whole lot, though. Greg was into the week. Greg Hopkins at 4-1. And Greg was up 2.62 units going into this week. He took a parlay with Terrence McKinney and Fares Ziam inside the distance, along with the opening female about Sam Hughes inside the distance. Lost that bet because one fight fell off altogether, and then the other one did indeed go the distance. Greg loses a unit. He's 4-2 now, and he is plus 1.62 units. Myself, coming into the week, I was 4-1, up 0.92 units. I played it the safest of all. The only person to get a win this week, I had only Tyler Santos, 1 unit, won me 0.27 units. I'm now up 1.19 units. That's like me in real life too. I just grind small and try to get it up there slowly but surely. Justin Watson comes in at 3-2 on the season so far, down 0.27 units. He had Misha Tate inside the distance. He lost. So now he's 3-3 and down 1.27 units. Coming into this week, Jeff was in fourth at 1-4. As he mentioned, he had Tyler Santos and Adrian Yanez play, and Santos come through. I was on Yanez too. Yanez didn't get it done against Davy Grant, so that busts his parlay. He's now 1-5 and down 2.4 units. Torres Finney was in last, but his lock was the Terrence McKinney fight, which fell off. So in effect, Torres has no change and leapfrogs back in front of Jeff by not having a bet last week. He's down 2.34. No UFC to bet on this week, so we'll recharge over the Thanksgiving holidays. Hopefully, come back better for you guys. I think that there is a pay per view when we get back, though, of note, a pretty big one, Jeff. So we'll definitely be looking at those odds whenever we get there next week. For now, though, let's get into this recap for the Underground 2. And we had one fight that we added, Jeff, that we added it on weigh-in day. We had 2 tag-alongs. Jared Bratfish came in with his teams from Juggernaut Boxing. He'd been asking to fight. He was supposed to fight on the Knoxville card a couple weeks before, and he had to pull out with Army stuff. And so he was hopeful to fight. He was sleeping on the floor with his teammates, just hoping something would happen. And lo and behold, it did. Ariel Dominguez steps up from Nashville MMA on very short notice, and they threw down in some Muay Thai action. It was the newcomer Jared Bratfish getting the third round TKO. Only 10 seconds left in the round, and he actually never went down though. This is a TKO like where he never went down. He had 2 standing 8 counts in the second round, another 2 standing 8 counts in the third round. And Ariel was game. I mean, he was in there, but I guess I didn't even know this. After 4 after 4 standing 8 counts or knockdowns accumulated over the course of the fight, it's over no matter what. So Chandler Goins had Caleb Miller stop that fight with 10 seconds to go after the standing 8 counts, and so it's ruled as a TKO for Jared Bradfish. Pretty impressive, man. They're like, well, I went back and watched this, and it's literally like one long consecutive combination the entire time. The guy like literally never stops punching and coming forward. He does not stop. He gives Ariel no time really to counter, to regroup or anything. So Ariel showed a lot of toughness, just more or less a nonstop activity of Jared Bradfish. Certainly somebody to watch, I think, coming up the ranks here. I think is Coach Jeff Johnson. Shout out to Jeff Johnson, by the way. He says he watches every week and he wants a shout out. So here's your shout out, Jeff Johnson. Jeff, your thoughts on this opener? It was a bonus fight. We didn't get a chance to really talk about it on the preview.
No, not at all. This is something that, like you said, just kind of came about out of nowhere. You get some tag-alongs, training partners, guys who should have fought or was going to fight. Opponents didn't work out, and they come to the shows just always hoping and begging that maybe something can be put together, whether it be 2 MMA fighters that just have current blood work or 2 Thai kickboxing fighters who just happen to have their gear with them. And
Right.
I was in Nashville MMA just checking up on those guys, talking about ticket sales, doing some ticket reconciliation, and happened to mention out there that we needed someone, and they just jumped on it. So it's like, all right, let's put it together. That being said, I think Bradfish was a little more than what than Dominguez and his camp were hoping for on a short notice fight like that, a short notice. But at the end of the day, Bradfish was 0-0. He was a debut the same. There's just something you can't account for how hard someone's been training and how long they've been preparing for that first fight. That is just an unknown.
Right.
And he was so active. There wasn't a moment and a second of a lull in action with Bradfish. So just a little overwhelming for such short notice. I'm 100% positive that based on or with proper timing in camp, Dominguez could have had a better showing.
Yeah.
But it just is what it is, and it was a good way to start the show out.
Yeah, no doubt. You go from just kind of preparing to support your teammates, and then you end up being the first guy to walk out there to get to in action the very next day. So that's definitely a swing for young men that are very early in the game. Let's see, moving forward. We had our what was going to be the opening bout of the night. Ended up being second. It is our first MMA fight, our only MMA fight in the prelims, and it was Cody Tungett from Lebanon representing Guardian MMA. Warren Grace and the gang up in there. It was always good to see Warren. He got the better of Jorge Lomas. Jorge Lomas. Out of the UFC gym in Murfreesboro, had just fought a couple weeks before, so both these guys were looking for that first win. 0-3 versus 0-2, so somebody's night's about to be made. Lomas had a pretty rough weight cut on this one. Mark Laws had to put him through the paces the night before, but I give the kid credit, man. He never bitched one time. Mark ripped about 7 pounds off of him from like late the night before up until time to weigh in. He made the weight without even needing the allowance. So I thought that was kind of a win in itself for Jorge because he'd missed weight, before. So if anything, he beat the scale this time. But Cody Tungett able to get those takedowns every round, man. And arguably watching it back, I arguably thought that Jorge won the first round. The second and third rounds, I thought, were kind of rinse and repeat, only he was no longer working so much from his back. But he actually, I thought, was more active from his back the first round than Cody was from the top. But then the second and third rounds were all Cody. And the judges gave it 30-27 on all the cards. Cody Tungett, congratulations, gets that first win. Long time coming. I've seen Cody scrapping out there now for a couple years looking for it, so congrats to him. And Jorge drops to 0-3. Hopefully he sticks with it. He's got a lot of toughness. He's a durable dude. He's just got to get that wrestling up to par where he can strike and not be on his back all the time.
Yeah. One way or the other, no matter how this fight played out, I think as promoters and, you get to know both these guys, we were going to come out winners anyway, because one of these really good guys were going to walk away with their first win, and we were going to be happy. for one of them. But in the same token, you were going to hate to see one of them lose because they both put a lot of effort into this. Like you mentioned, Lomas has had some trouble on the scales, and I think that was a huge morale building moment for him to put that weight cut work in and actually beat the scales this time. And I know he's happy about that. I know we're happy about that. Moving forward, and maybe he's learned a little bit on how to handle that. So, he didn't walk away a complete loser, if you will, in this fight, because he did learn a lot in this fight on how to manage fight preparation. So, but like I said, man, it's great for Tunget. He gets out there, he grinds, he brings a pretty good little crowd every time to support him, and he finally got to send him home with something, to be happy about.
Moving on, we had let's see, up next it was featherweight Muay Thai. This is when things got a little hairy with this next one. We've got Matt McAfee out of Juggernaut Boxing. He was taking on Phil Hedgewood from Nashville MMA. Both these guys, coming from tough, solid camps. Hedgewood with the one fight experience advantage, with McAfee being a debut. This is a fight that ended up being, I guess it was called officially a unanimous decision, although I feel safe to at the very least say that it was a split decision officially,
Yeah.
because the cards did read that. The cards did read split decision. We'll get into that in a second. Let's get into the fight. There's a lot to talk about for this one. All right, so it's 29-28 on all the judges' scorecards. One judge had it for Hedgewood. Two judges had it for McAfee. We'll go through the action. McAfee in the first round. The first round was very close. I thought that I would have edged it so slightly to Hedgewood. Second round, I thought McAfee did enough to win the second round. I had a 1-1 going to the third round. Hedgewood really started coming on in the third round. Without a doubt, his best round. Won probably 90% of that round. But with probably 40 seconds to go, give or take, in that third round, there's a leg kick that drops Hedgewood. And I had Hedgewood just like popped right back up, showing quote unquote warrior spirit is what they call it, I think. Then it would not have been called a knockdown, but he did not. He gathered himself. He kind of had to get his gloves behind him, slowly come up, and so Caleb Miller called it a knockdown. He started counting. I didn't really have a problem with that so much, but the rest of the round was very much Phil Hedgewood's round. So at that point, I would have judged it. Phil Hedgewood wins the round, deduct the point for the knockdown because that's the referee's call. It makes it a 9-9 round, and a draw, in my opinion, would have been the proper call. But apparently, the rule says that if you get knocked down in a fight or in a round, that you cannot win the round unless the other guy also gets knocked down in the round, no matter how dominant you were in the round. And so that is the rule that they adhered to, and that is more or less the reason that Matt McAfee gets this win.
Yeah. Shit. Like you said, this is hard to kind of just wrap around.
Yeah, it is.
Breaking down this fight because you had the action in the ring and then you had the action outside the ring as far as trying to, argue, determine what actually, the rules are, what was going on, what happened. Hedgewood's corner comes from, just a hardcore traditional Thai background. And, in his rule, anything like that is just a sweep and is not a knockdown. Then the controversy on whether 10-8 automatic is the ruling, or can you earn that back with a dominant round, or is it just flat 10-8 regardless? There was a lot going on, to the point where, as an announcer, you know what, I was not even going to attempt to try to make heads or tails and read the numbers on the card, because I felt like they were inaccurate, maybe, if that's the right word. So I didn't want to cloud the decision. I just called it what was on the paper and figured we would, we'd sort it out later. I will say, though, the fight was good. It was a good fight. It was a very, very well matched fight. Hedgewood, like you said, came out in that third round, and everything I think his coaches were frustrated about that he wasn't doing in the first and second round, he came out and did exactly what they wanted them to do, and they were happy in the third round because he came out, guns blazing, and lots of action, was staying busy. I will say I've talked to that camp since the fight yesterday, actually on the phone. Started trying to talk to them about kind of the wonkiness of the scoring, and they didn't want to hear anything about it. They were like, it is what it is. They were like, I don't. It doesn't matter. We don't need justification of a draw. It's like this is. They were very sound about what went on, and they were like, this is amateur Muay Thai. It's training. We're learning. It doesn't matter. I don't need the satisfaction of possibly there being a draw. We lost the fight because we didn't win the fight. Basically was their mindset on it was, if our hand wasn't raised, it doesn't matter what the scorecard said or what you make the scorecard say. We lost the fight because we didn't win the fight. And they simply were flat out saying, we would love that exact rematch quickly on an upcoming card. And do it again, and said that's the best way for them to make heads or tails of what happened is to let's run it back exactly the way it was, that opponent, that gym, under those rules. And so they won it again, and said let's do it again.
I like it, and I like that we're slowly kind of building these little rivalries too. Which is always fun, and they're respectful, of course. This is one of those fights where I think Phil kind of came out early, like he if he fought that whole fight like he fought in the third round, it seemed like he had just a different intensity in that third round. He's really starting to sit down on things a little more. Whereas the first round, I think I even noted sitting next to you, it's like he's just touching it. It's just like he's just not a whole lot of oomph behind those. But then the third round really started sitting down on me. He was starting to hurt. He wobbled him a couple of times. So both those guys.
Like you said, the respect was definitely there, because it was when I talked to that National MMA camp yesterday, it was like, that Juggernaut gym, let's do that again, because those guys give good work. Those guys, have something. So
got a lot of rounds out of those guys in the prelims.
Yeah, absolutely. I tell you what, though, Tim, while we've got a point to segue, we've got somebody that's wanting to pop in the show here right now, and I've got him in the waiting room. So he was one half of one of our pro fights on this card. He didn't get to watch a lot of the fights at the show because he was in the back preparing for his, but I know he has gone back and watched the replay. So we're going to bring in Justin Watson.
What's up, Justin?
What's up, boys?
Good to see you, man. We'll talk about your fight when we get to it here. But how much of this broadcast were you able to go back and catch?
All of it. The fight we're getting ready to discuss, I think, is the only one that I actually didn't see a lot.
Oh man, and it was really good.
I brought you in one fight too early.
Yeah, right. This was the kid from Angel's Gym.
Yes. The one we're about to talk about is we'll go ahead and get to that now. So up next, we had 120 pounders. This one was really good. It was Angel Natal bringing in this fighter, and he had Luis Alonso, and Luis Alonso really was impressive in his debut, but not able to get the win against Carlos Rivas, representing DJ Miller's Fight Force Fitness. Man, these guys went hard all 3 rounds, throwing heat. Man, they landed so many big shots. Nobody ever went down. So it was, we never had any knockdowns. It was 29-28, split decision on this one. 2 judges go 2 rounds to 1 for Rivas. 1 judge had it 2 rounds to 1 the other way for Alonso. But man, tell you what, that was no. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. It was unanimous decision. It was 2 judges had it 2-1 for Rivas, and 1 judge had it 3-0 for Rivas. But Alonso very live. Rivas just seemed to land the big, like they both landed a lot of blows, but Rivas seemed to land the bigger, more kind of like jarring blows from time to time. But I'm excited to see both these guys back. Apparently, Alonso, according to Angel, he's a soccer player from Honduras, only like 19 years old, just started learning to fight, but he loved it, they said. Had a big smile on his face walking out, had a nice little contingency there to support him. And he's going to be looking to turn around again, it looks like, in either January or February out in Knoxville. We're going to bring him out. with his teammate Arriaga, who we'll talk about here in a little bit. Anyway, but tonight, that night was Carlos Rivas' night. DJ Miller, his new gym over there, Fight Force Fitness. Well, I guess I say new; they've been around about a year now, but really done a good job with this guy. And he's pretty tall and rangy at that flyweight or under flyweight, 120 pounds. Lots of interesting fights for him down the road. Jeff, your take on this one? They had the crowd. I mean, this is one that we had all the crazy before it. It's kind of got my mind off the crazy for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, this was the one that everybody's kind of settling in their seats, getting their drinks, getting settled in. Those first few fights, your late arrivals, your people that have been standing in the line for a while to get in. But this was the one where everyone just perked up and started taking notice. This was the first fight where you just had nonstop total action the whole time. And this is the type of fight this is the one on the card that gets the crowd really in tune with what's about to happen the rest of the night. And this was also one of those ones where most of the crowd probably weren't there for either one of these guys as far as support. But the crowd picked a side and they oohed and ahed the whole match and recognized and respected what was going on in that cage. So this was the fight that every matchmaker and promoter watching goes, I needed that one early in the card to get them going and get the crowd, silky and lathered up. Was this fight, and this was it, man. These kids were nonstop. There wasn't a second of this fight that somebody wasn't throwing something. And not only can they throw them, they can take them too. They can take a punch. This was exciting. I wish the division was deeper at this weight, but because these are the two type of kids that you would love to keep busy if you could every show, and put them on the beginning of every show.
Yeah, they're gonna bring it like that, man. They're gonna, they're gonna very rarely fail to deliver their job of getting the crowd kind of frenzied. So you weren't able to see that much of that one, Justin. I guess we'll get on, or you were not able to watch that one. Is that what you said?
I was watching from the back. I mean, I saw these kids throwing like crazy, but I didn't get enough to give a detailed breakdown of it.
Okay. Last prelim, and it was also the final representative from Juggernaut Boxing. Cody Hamilton goes out in this one, wins his debut over Joey Torres, who was also making his Thai debut. Now, Joey Torres, typically an MMA fighter, grappler by trade. I thought he looked pretty good out there. Honestly, I thought he looked much better than I anticipated. To be a grappler that was making his first striking only appearance. Judges had this one unanimously 29-28 across the board for Cody Hamilton. I thought it was real close. I went back and watched it again, and I don't know, man. Joey was not happy with the decision afterward. He told me he was going to appeal the decision with Chandler Goins. I don't know where that'll get him, but after watching it back, man, I don't think anybody got robbed, but I probably lean Joey's way, honestly, in that fight. Justin, what'd you think on this one?
Yeah, man, that was a back and forth fight, super evenly matched. I was impressed, with Torres coming out of Henzo's. Like you say, well, obviously we were all looking at that one kind of dumbfounded, wondering, them doing kickboxing is not normal, but he was impressive, man. And, it was a very close fight, but definitely nothing to hang his head about. Taking the loss, it's tough to get those amateur decisions overturned, but I think ultimately he got to get in there and get the experience, and it was a win-win for him.
Yeah, no doubt. Both those guys look sharp. They were composed. Jeff, your take on the final prelim, and at this point we were like, thank God we're done with Muay Thai for the night.
Yes, at this point between the Hedgewood scoring, Torres being a little upset about the decision here, I was ready to move on and announce to the crowd that we were MMA the rest of the way.
Right.
I don't want to say I didn't give this bout much attention. Of course, fight night's busy. We were honestly still talking to Gamma about the Hedgewood fight while this one was going on, and looking at scorecards and such like that. And the reason why I wasn't giving it much was because I just assumed I knew how it was going. But then when I would start to pay attention to the fight, I would go, this isn't going the way that I thought it was going to go. Like Torres is in there, the jiu-jitsu guy is in there. and it started making me notice that this fight was a lot closer than what I had probably given it some credit for being. Going back, and I did rewatch it like you did. There's no way that I think it was as one-sided as the judges thought it was. And I think Torres, like Justin said, man, you're not getting an amateur Muay Thai fight reversed or overturned. Hell, there's no such thing. It's not happening. But I think Joey Torres definitely has the ability to say, I think I won that fight. But that was out of Joey's wheelhouse, and I'm glad to see Joey competing. But I want to see Joey just back in there doing MMA again. If anything, this bout just showed me how much I really would like to see Joey Torres, just back in the cage, mixing up his jiu-jitsu and his striking in an MMA fight again, and watching him compete that way.
Yeah, hoping to see him. I don't know, waiting to hear from today, actually. Maybe see him on that Featherweight card coming up here at the Joe. Moving on to the undercard. Man, this is when business really picked up. This was my personal favorite portion of the whole card. This was a lot of action on this part of the card. Open things up back with MMA. We had 2 debuts going at it. Lucas Cox taking on JT Van Meter, another chapter in the Agogi versus Nashville MMA rivalry, as it were. And these guys, man, they both put on a great fight. I thought that to be debuts, they were both very, very skilled, and both very composed. First off, the first thing I noticed is JT Van Meter is a hoss at 170. He's big old 170. And the first round, it was a lot of kind of your feeling out round. We had a lot of clinch, a lot of trying to figure out who's going to be the stronger guy, who's going to be able to get the takedown, keep the takedown, keep the pressure against the fence. Just kind of a lot of feeling out in that first round. Second and third round, Hobbs started to pull away a little bit, I thought, with getting those takedowns, starting to get more dominant positions and some good ground and pound. There was a moment in the third round where he busted JT open, and like JT was just like, it was like a zombie out there, man. He never stopped coming forward. He never kept like trying to get that takedown, trying to somehow figure out a way to win this fight. But I thought Lucas Cox was real composed out there, kept his wits about him. A workmanlike effort over a very, very tough debut opponent that's going to win plenty of fights out there. Both these guys are going to win a lot of fights, and it's nice to see that. A fairly nice welterweight division starting to take shape out there, guys. There's studs out there at 170 right now that are going to be eyeing the champ, Dustin Bailey. Jeff Hobbs, your take on this one, man. It's a great fight, even though it was unanimous decision 30-27, but it felt a lot closer than that watching it.
Yeah. I think the decision was right. But like you said, I think before you could, as a judge, clinch that round, during the round, you saw moments of it just really being close, but then something happened in the round to give you that idea or the thought that, okay, Cox definitely won the round, but everything up to that bell made you feel that it was a lot closer. I'm glad as a fan watching that fight that it happened, but like you said, from the promotion standpoint, you're like, man, both these guys stepped on out there against some really good debut competition on their first fight. That's the type of fight maybe you would have liked to see both of them having maybe their third or fourth fight, and built up a little bit, but they just went out there just bout number one and stepped on out there with somebody that was just as probably skilled and far along as they were. So, in hindsight, maybe we saw that fight a little too early,
right.
But damn glad we did because it was a great fight, and I think it'll make both of them better then the next time they go in. Man, I guess what was about to come out of my mouth maybe would sound bad to some people, but I don't mean it this way. I felt JT may have been maybe the more technical skilled person or fighter in the fight, but just didn't get himself in those positions because Cox was just the tougher, more just grittier fighter of the two. And so his will, his heart, and his grittiness kept him out of those positions. that JT may have been able to capitalize on had he gotten him in those positions. And that was just the difference in the two. Was Cox is good. Cox is skilled. Don't get me wrong, very skilled. But I think his toughness to keep himself out of those positions that JT was looking to put him in was the difference maker there.
He wasn't willing to accept them.
No, absolutely not. Van Meter's going to definitely have to try a different approach than the face first entry into exchanges. And I talked to some of his training partners, after the fight the next day, and they said that wasn't the JT that they trained with. He said that they, in their opinion, was maybe a little bit of that was just the freezing up and the nerves of the fight, and immediately knowing that he was in there with someone pretty tough and pretty good, and just kind of froze in the moment. That venue, the lights, the cameras from our production. I mean, it's a big feeling for a debut, with the cameras everywhere and the cage. I mean, I can see where a guy would freeze up if that's your first entry into this sport. It's kind of that atmosphere. But I think we'll see better things out of JT Van Meter if he sticks with it. And we know Cox is going to stick with it. So there's some good fights out there for both these guys.
Justin, your take.
Yeah, so Jeff was saying last week, that Nashville MMA was all about Van Meter, talking about how good he was and stuff. And we've heard that about Lucas Cox from Magogi for a while. They've been trying to get him that fight. And, like you guys both said, two highly skilled debuts, not your average debuts, and taking on each other. I was very impressed with Van Meter's durability and tenacity, honestly, just to keep pressing forward. He did take some big shots. Lucas Cox was landing some big shots, and Van Meter was definitely tired, but just pushed through it and continued to go. So both those guys were super impressive. Lucas Cox, I'm excited to see what's next for him, and Van Meter as well.
Up next, we had Cody Stewart taking on Ben Sharp, lightweight action. Ben Sharp, man, he's like 6'4". He's like really one of as tall a 155 as you're gonna find anywhere out there. Cody Stewart representing UFC Gym, and Ben Sharp representing Phoenix MMA and Fitness out of Hermitage. This was a shocker. Honestly, it was 2 minutes and 58 seconds essentially of Ben Sharp winning the fight. We'll say 2 minutes and 50 seconds. We'll say of Ben Sharp winning the fight. I mean, really just kind of manhandling Cody out there. There was a moment where he just kind of like pushed him. It was like he just like shoved him down. It was just very, very physical. He opened the fight with like a push kick to the chest that dropped him too. And so like Cody was really kind of struggling with it there early, but at the very end of the round, there was a point where he had knocked Cody down. Ben had knocked Cody down, kind of rushed into the ground and pound, and just like punched right into an armbar, a Hail Mary armbar, literally at the bell. 2 minutes 59 seconds, round one, Cody Stewart armbar. Everybody was just like, whoa! It was wild. I don't know if anybody was more surprised than Ben Sharp and Cody Stewart, though. Man, afterward, I was like, man, he had you rocked there. You showed some wherewithal to pull that off. But he said that was all part of the game plan. He said that he was playing possum, and that was how he was going to get into the ground and get that submission. But congrats to Cody Stewart. Ben Sharp's going to be a tough 2-2 lingering around out there at 6'4". Justin.
Yeah, that's a tall son of a bitch. When I saw him, I was like, Jesus, dude. At 155 pounds, I would have to get a step stool to reach his face.
Most would.
But yeah, like you said, he started out with that push kick, knocked himself down, and Cody Stewart. So it started out wild, but he had some decent striking when they were on the feet. He landed some big shots, and obviously just got a little overzealous, and maybe just wasn't aware of the amount of time left. I feel like it was deep as fuck for sure, but I don't know if it would have snapped in 2 seconds. I don't know. It would have been, you'd have had to have been in that situation to know what you would do, I guess. But sucks that he couldn't hold it out for much longer. But he'll be a nightmare for whoever's next for sure. With that height and reach and good striking, and if he can, I don't know what he's like on the ground. Obviously, we just saw his stand up, but with those long limbs and stuff, his jiu-jitsu could get pretty nasty too, if you focused on it enough. So, looking forward to seeing what he has left, and congrats to Cody Stewart, man. I don't know if that was really part of the game plan or not, but I admired the durability and the wherewithal to know where he was at after taking the damage and still being able to throw that armbar up.
Jeff.
Yeah, I just I wouldn't suggest or teach the possum defense. There's no way that 9 times out of 10 that's probably not going to work for you. But man, it was slick, man. It was slick as hell. There's dough to die, and it was the oh shit moment of the night probably. And we gave bonuses. We were talking about bonuses at the end of the night for certain professionals, and Taylor Hood himself was like, man, it just really sucks not to be able to hook this kid up with something. He said, I'm going to have to find a way through a sponsorship or something to reward this kid for what he did out there, because it was impressive, man. Everyone was impressed with it. It was just so unexpected and out of nowhere, and definitely in the UFC, that kind of thing would have earned you a $50,000 performance bonus. So, man, I don't know. You can't help but like Cody Stewart. He's a real cool kid to talk to. He's game. He wants on every show if you'll let him on every show, and happy for him, man. Basically, I'm just happy for him.
Up next, probably my opinion, the most the guy that I'll kind of come away with this kind of just wanting to see a little bit more soon. Finn Martin, highly anticipated debut, representing National MMA, but coming out of Virginia, actually, a decorated high school wrestler, grappler out of Virginia, out of Team Manning over there, who we've seen a lot of good guys come out of Team Manning, including our champ, Dustin Bailey, who was out there to support Finn and ended up pulling commentary duty for us, doing a great job. Finn Martin wins his debut over Chris Barker out of Atlanta, round 1 TKO, about 2 minutes in. And this kid's, he's the goods. He's just a specimen. Very impressive physique, very well mannered, well spoken. He's an Army Ranger, from what I recall hearing. So I believe he'll be dropping a 205, which is going to put a lot of guys on notice. And what used to be, I'm excited to see it though, because 205 is, for so long, has been kind of like one of those divisions where, man, it's just not very deep. There's one or two guys, and then that's just it. I really feel like that 205 division is starting to kind of take off, which will make some really cool fights down the road. Jeff, your thoughts here on Finn Martin, Chris Barker?
Yeah, the potential is, man, it looks like it could be endless right now with this kid. What a specimen, just physically a specimen, marketable as hell, marketable look. And to sit there and watch that fight, I think what you just said was what was being muttered around cage side all night was, this dude's a problem right now, but at 205, he's about to become a motherfucker for some people if he sticks with this. Yeah, man, he could really be inserted into this division and make some noise. I mean, it's so early and crazy to even say this because we just lost, Torres Finney to the pro ranks. But had this kid maybe come around a little sooner, and Torres, while he was still at the 205, around there, just, some of those thoughts of possibilities of what could have been had we met this kid sooner.
Yeah. It certainly could have used some depth at 205 about a year ago for sure. Justin, your take.
Yeah, Chris Barker, man, in the back warming up, he looked like he was going to be a problem. He was definitely put together.
Yeah, it looks like
what I could tell.
Big guy.
Yeah, big boy, and so I was looking forward to that one. I made sure that I poked my head up and got to watch that one. But Finn Martin just ran right through him, man. It was, but I hadn't seen Finn yet. When I was seeing Chris Barker, I was just thinking, damn, I feel sorry for whoever's fighting this dude. But then I saw Finn, and I was like, well, shit, this son of a bitch is put together too. But yeah, he made quick work of him. It really never posed any problems, and kind of to what you guys are saying, at this point, I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility just to throw that guy in a title fight next. I mean, even at 0-1, who's going to be a problem for him? Who's going to give him any problems other than somebody that would be fighting for a title? So possibly maybe get one more fight and then maybe a contender for I think I heard we were going to have a 205 title fight coming up soon. So maybe a contender, number one contender fight for him next.
No doubt. Up next, another fight of the night contender here, and another fight that it ended up being 30-27, but it just felt way closer than that. Dustin Berry, the second Agogi member to fight on the evening, improves to 2-0 with a unanimous decision win over the always dangerous Spencer Brandon at Allegiant. Man, this is a really good fight too. Like I said, 30-27 across the board for Berry, but it was just another one of those fights where it felt like it was very close. All the rounds felt very close, and there was just always that sense of like, Dustin Berry was hitting some very impressive takedowns, some big slams, high altitude slams, a wrestling display out there. But then like Spencer Brandon's going for arm bars, Spencer Brandon's going for triangles, Spencer Brandon's scrambling up and swinging haymakers hard, So Spencer's one of those guys that's going to be dangerous all the way to the final bell. He's in all aspects. He can grapple and he can strike, and he's got a crazy good motor. Just takedown defense being his one kind of drawback, which was very much the strong suit of Dustin Berry. Nobody really which should hang their head here. I think Dustin Berry, for one, is going to be a guy that's going to quickly ascend up that 155 contender spot, and then Spencer Brandon's a guy that's always going to give you a good fight. He's always going to be dangerous to anyone. Record drops to 2-2, but a very tough 2-2. He'll still beat plenty of guys out there. And I keep saying it, the fight I'd like to see is Spencer Brandon, Justin Jamar would be violence personified, I think. We'll go to you first, Justin. Your take on this one, 30-27, good with you?
Yeah, I think Spencer Brandon, was outclassed in the fight, I believe, overall, but never, you couldn't have told him that in the fight, I don't think.
Right.
I think he definitely thought that he had a chance to win throughout the fight and kept pushing, kept coming forward. Dustin Berry, man, is a tough dude. That's another guy that I wouldn't mind seeing in a number one contender fight next, and then see him fighting for a title in the near future. Excellent wrestling, strong kid. Constant pressure, I think, his striking looks good too. Both those Agogi guys fought tough fights and looked really good doing it. So excited for both those guys, excited for that gym and what the future holds.
Jeff, like Justin said, the Agogi guys, the Agogi amateurs arguably had the toughest, longest, most grueling fights of the night, and came through in both.
Yeah. No matter what was going on in this fight, you just always felt that Spencer Brandon had that puncher's chance because he was throwing haymakers. There was one time just where Berry was on his knees and Spencer Brandon had gotten up, quicker than him and was just throwing punches while Berry was still on his knees in that thing. I mean, it was exciting, man. He was throwing bombs, and no matter how far apart you felt the scorecards were getting, you just still felt that if there was just a few seconds longer in the bout or in the round, that Brandon would have a chance because he was going for it. And man, like you said, Spencer Brandon versus Justin Jamar, because Justin's going to oblige him. He's going to stand there with him and throw bombs. Nobody's probably really for takedown first offense. They're looking for knockout first offense. So that fight would be sick. Absolutely. And I hate that, hell, we're spending a lot of time on this match talking about the guy who lost the match. But he was just brings an action-packed, exciting, never high attitude to his matches. But Dustin Berry, in the same token, is going to be in some really good high-profile type amateur bouts soon because he's good, and he's going to get even better. So matchmaking-wise and promotion-wise, both these guys came out a winner.
Yeah, no doubt. Speaking of violence, our next and final undercard bout these little dudes packed a lot of dynamite, and we already know that with Kutu. Kutu up next defeats Michael Robinson, 25 seconds. A lot of action packed into that 25 seconds. It felt like Robinson put together, man. He's athletic kid, but Kutu immediately kind of catches him in the striking department, hits a big slam on him then as well. Massive ground and pound. One of those kind of turn the lights off, and then the next one like turn the lights back on. And when the lights turned back on, he was up and like sprinting across the cage. You know what's going on? They'd stop the fight at that point, but it was a crazy whirlwind of chaos in there for about 25 seconds. And Kutu moves to 3-1. Lots of fun fights for him out there, I think. Michael Robinson, I think next time we'll see him at 125, Jet.
Yeah. Man, those was just such two little pit bulls, man. Just compact, both in tremendous shape, thick man. So I mean, lots of power in both of them. It was like it was a dog fight. Like I said, two trainers holding their pit bulls on leashes, and when the referee said go, they both unhooked the leashes and let them go at it. Kutu with I'm so glad that moves like this happen and we catch them on video. That kind of, I don't know if I'd call it belly to back because he was kind of inside. I don't know, he's kind of more to his side, but just that lift and slam. Man, it was the funnest, under a minute fight that I've seen in a long time. But like I said, it's so weird. Janet Woll grabbed a great picture of the bout, and you look at the picture and you're like, how the hell are they in that position where Robinson is looking away from Kutu while the punch is coming, but
he's kind of like laid back too.
Yes, but when he was flat on his stomach, and everyone is screaming he's out. But then next thing you know, he's launched up in the air, like levitating backwards, like he's diving off the diving board backwards. Man, it was just, I don't even know what to say, man. It was just awesome. But Kutu is, I think this shows how crazy and how good the Delgadillo loss was, or for Delgadillo to pull off that win against Kutu, because I think that fight was not, he got caught. I think that was the indicative, looking back, that he got caught, because I think this young man is a lot further along than what you would have thought if your first introduction was the Delgadillo match. There's so many fun matches out there. This fight originally was supposed to be Kutu versus Brevin Sullivan, but Sullivan didn't want to do this match off the heels of that Chattanooga fight. Thought it was too soon and didn't want to cut the weight again, and opted to cancel that matchup. And we're not one to talk about nobody, but he also said that this match didn't interest him, that he wasn't interested. And I don't know how the hell you could watch that and not be interested in Brevin Sullivan possibly versus Kutu. But we know Sullivan has his eyes on another Nashville MMA guy. So there's two options at Nashville MMA that would be some fireworks for Brevin Sullivan.
We move on to the main card, and man, they got rowdy for this next one, man. Jamie Lloyd brought all of Cheatham County with him here as he takes on late replacement Bryce Warner out of Wildside. Warner only 18 or 19 years old from what I can gather, so definitely put in a wild spot where half the room is cheering against you. And he performed admirably as he gets the second round TKO 26 seconds in. I thought both guys showed a lot of grit out there. I thought Lloyd was in some real bad spots that I've seen lesser men give up in, and he managed to either get up or get out of very deep submissions a few times. Showed a lot of grit, a lot of tenacity out there, but it was Bryce Warner who got the win, and Jamie Lloyd handled it like a champ though. Afterward, man, he said the perfect thing to kind of show respect, keep his crowd kind of satiated there at the moment. And I look forward to working with both these guys again. That's the 125 division's got lots of fun fights out there for both these guys, and I'm happy to see that flyweight division kind of growing. Justin.
Yeah. Hold on one second. Fuck. Bryce Warner. He's Mike Merriman's son. Is that correct?
No.
Oh,
Somebody said he was Mike Merriman's son, and I was like, "Well, son of a bitch."
I didn't hear that.
No, that is not true. That is not
okay.
True.
Well, anyway, regardless, still super impressive. 18 years old is what he said, what he told me, and taking this fight on 24 hours notice against a guy who has sold 9 tables. We talked about last week how much Lloyd had sold, and you got a crowd that big chanting for your opponent. But Lloyd's crowd was great too. I actually was trying to watch from the back, and I couldn't tell who had won the fight because Lloyd's fans were up. Even after the decision was made, they were still up cheering and stuff, and so he had a really good support system there, and cool to see the fans acknowledging just a great fight, not being pissed off that their guy lost, and but both guys came out there to fight, man. Lloyd, never gave up. He, like you said, he was in some bad spots, and with all those people behind him, he knew damn sure he couldn't quit, so he kept trying and kept pushing and made it a good fight, but. I'm looking forward to seeing what the other kid has in the future, man. Because at 18 years old, that was very impressive.
Yeah, I think that a Bryce Warner and Vincent Van Alstyne fight would be pretty good because they can both wrestle quite a bit. Jeff, your take?
Yeah, we knew going in, and we talk about 9 tables. You also have to talk about almost 100 GAs on top of it. So there's a lot of people there, but. Lloyd did a great job. That it could have been real touchy after a bout like that with that many fans in, but he stayed in and he grabbed the mic and he made sure that the show did not suffer for upset fans, and he said all the right things, and I don't think he said them just for show. I think he really meant what he said, and he was sincere about congratulating his opponent. I saw a couple of Facebook videos after the fight. Definitely still chiming those same sentiments that he just got his ass whooped that night, and it is what it is, and that's why it's a fight, and we'll be back better than ever. I know we have talked even briefly. He's wanting to get back in the gym ASAP and get better on a few things. We've talked about the possibility of February making a little road trip maybe to Knoxville. And I tell you right now, a Jamie Lloyd crowd at Cotton Eye Joe seems like a match made in heaven.
Sounds like a good time.
Yeah, it's a damn good time. Shit'll definitely get crazy then. But, man, Bryce Warner is so Sean O'Malley-ish in a lot of ways, man. His confidence, even just his look. He resembles him, his body type, that little bit of swagger that Bryce Warner has. But don't get it twisted. He does have a lot to learn, and his coach Mike Merriman did tell me, the thing about Bryce is he'll look really good, but he is young and he makes a lot of mistakes still. He just happened to not make any in this fight. So they're going to be smart, they said, and they're not just going to take one good win against a hometown kid and run with it too much and try to step on out there too deep. Because he knows that this kid's got a lot of holes that he still needs to fix. So it sounds like they're going to be smart about his career and his amateur career. But like you said, that All-Star fight would be fire, though. That'd be fun.
Two young bucks, 19 years old.
And he's got still a good enough a wrestling base that he can hold his own. But if you got holes, Alstein may not be the guy. You know what I'm saying? Alstein will take advantage of those holes. I think he'll see those holes quick. So you would have to be real smart in that matchup if you're Warner in the cage, and not to get too crazy, not try to press and push too many things. You'd have to be real calculated in a fight with Vincent.
The amateur main event finished off, in my opinion, amateur stole the show on this card. It was really good. Emilio Hernandez gets the first ever underground title. There is no like main event title, like an actual like weight class title. Bantamweight championship is he gets the knee bar win over Josh Delgadillo 45 seconds in. And as I said at Cage Side, that was a lot of action packed into 45 seconds. It felt like it was nonstop the entire 45 seconds. Delgadillo drops Emilio in about the first probably 15 seconds of the fight. Nice little three-piece combo. There was just like pop, pop, pop. And then got a little overzealous on the ground, as you know, everybody knew coming in that Emilio, world-class competitor on the ground, and managed to kind of weather that initial barrage, latch onto that knee bar. And Josh landed a few like body shots, but it's like at that point, you're just starting to kind of sink deeper and deeper into where Emilio wants you. Gets the tap at 45 seconds on the knee bar. Hopefully Josh's knee was okay. I know he was probably getting that checked out. But Emilio just dangerous, man. Dangerous everywhere. I think, talking to Josh's coaches afterward, that was obviously not the game plan to follow him to the ground after he had him hurt like that. They wanted him to let him stand back up. But, hey, easier said than done. We're not the ones out there doing it in the heat of the battle. It's crazy out there, I'm sure. And props to Emilio, man. Keeps his wits about him in the face of adversity yet again. Pulls out a win. And a real nice purple strap to go with it, Jeff.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, easier said than done because, in that moment, I'm sure the last thing in a fighter's mind is, let me fight longer. Let's keep this fight going longer. When you know that their feeling is, let me get the hell out of here and let's get this fight over with. And he felt he was in a position and that he may have had Emilio hurt with that combo and dropping him like that is let's get this thing over with and get out of here. Because Emilio showed in his last fight with Carrington Johnson, who dominated a first round, is that if you keep him in the fight too long, eventually he's going to pull his shit off.
Yeah.
And, I know it's disappointing.
And had he let him up and things went differently, we may be sitting here saying, hey, man, if he just jumped on him and finished him right there when he had him, right?
Yeah, it's all hindsight, at this point. So, at the end of the day, I know his coaches were a little upset because it wasn't part of the game plan, but, he thought he had an opening. But Emilio saw his opening as well. And once he latched onto that leg, you just knew there wasn't an amount of punches that Josh was going to be able to throw to the ribs or to the side that was going to make Emilio let go of that leg. It was either going to be a knee or an ankle, but he wasn't letting go. And he was going to get his shit off. And, it was beautiful. And Emilio is a very emotional person. I try to touch base with as many fighters the next day after the show as I can. And I spoke with him a little bit through message and he's one of those guys that he says, I'm never scared of my opponent. It's in no way, shape or form am I scared of the man across the ring from me. He said, what makes me scared is letting people down. He said the amount of pressure that's on to perform, things like that. And he said that's why, it's so emotional afterwards and trying to let this sink in was not just the win and getting this belt, was that I just came through for my coaches, my fans, my friends, a lot of kids out there that he works with and stuff. So he's real still, even to this day, this many days post-fight, still just kind of emotional and taken back by the whole process. And it's good to see because it's humbling. And the sky's the limit for this guy. He is really deep into the jiu-jitsu world. We all know that. It is his first love, his first passion. MMA comes second to jiu-jitsu at all times, but it's still just an enigma kind of thing out there. Is like, how far could he take this if he really wanted to focus on it? And be interested to see if he wants to defend that thing, if he wants to come over to Aries and see if he can maybe collect a blue one to go with the purple one. Be like, Torres and try to get all of the colors. I don't know. Maybe with Emilio, we have to get a belt that matches every jiu-jitsu rank, a white one, a blue one, a purple one, a brown one, a black one. I don't know. So who knows, man? Sky's the limit for this kid. And Delgadillo is going to be back. There is no doubt. That kid is too skilled not to turn right back around as long as there's no injury and get himself right back in the mix. Like I said, this was an underground title. these two kids are very much deep in the scene and part of an Aries type roster, if you will. I know Aries is new, but these guys could see each other again someday, maybe, and try to gain another one.
Just
Yeah, man, Emilio's is insanely impressive. We've known that, but this getting dropped like that and then still having the ability to know where you're at, dive under and grab that knee. Obviously Josh, like you said, his coaches weren't happy about him diving to the ground, but I mean, shit, when all that's going on, you drop somebody, you just see a finish, you go for it, and you're not really thinking. Especially at that time, I'm sure Josh thought, all I need is one or two shots and we're done. So it's not. He probably wasn't planning on going and hanging out down there for a while. He just thought if I can get one or two off. But as soon as you get down there and Emilio grabs a hold of you, you're in another world. And we know that how good Josh is, so he'll definitely be back. But man, I would love to see Emilio really put a lot of effort into MMA just because his jiu-jitsu is already so good. Being a black belt with just a couple of amateur fights, it's his jiu-jitsu is going to carry him a long, long way in the sport. Through his amateur career and through the first part of his pro career too. So if he really dives into it and wants to really learn, I mean, his striking is coming along beautifully, and so if he continues to put that work in, I think that Emilio is going to be a real problem in the region.
moving on to the pro card, it was Pat Crumpton, Justin Watson up next. So I'll let you do most of the talking here, Justin. But Pat Crumpton gets the win. Rear naked choke, striking exchange early. Justin, you went for a high risk, high reward, I guess you would say, maneuver with the flying knee. Didn't land it. Kind of put yourself in a position where Pat was able to get your back, and that's not a good place to be.
No, yeah, we when we came out, I knew how that Pat was going to be pressuring hard and looking to grapple a lot, but he came out and stuck me hard, and right away, just as soon as we touched gloves, he started throwing, and so I realized, hey, we got to fight. So I threw back a few times. I feel like I caught him once, and he kind of took a step back, and I thought, okay, he's going to shoot. So that's when I threw that flying knee, hoping that we'll be able to time it on a shot and put him away. But once I missed that, overswung on one, and he got to my back, I just kind of, I knew going into it how outmatched I was in the grappling department. And so once he got my back, I knew I was in trouble, and it didn't take long. As soon as he got, I tried to stand up, and as soon as he saw my neck open up, he slid his arm in there and got it taken care of. But man, Pat's a beast. That's why I wanted to fight him. I would do it again tomorrow, and I wish it would have gone longer. Obviously, I wish that I wouldn't have gotten so overzealous. I guess once all I want's a firefight. That's what I live for. So when that's what it seemed like was going to happen, I got super excited and just kind of threw caution to the wind and got myself in trouble. But Pat's the man. I can't wait to see him back in there. Hopefully he's going to be back in January, and the kid's got a bright future. I'm looking forward to seeing what's next for him.
Yeah, it looks like we will have Pat back in January at the Joe. You did get a pretty badass picture out of that, though. I saw Janet got a pretty good one there. Jeff Hobbs, your take.
Yeah, and for years to come, when people forget about the fight itself, you can tell whatever story you want with that picture, man. Get it blown up, posterize it.
His head just bounced off my knee, guys.
Yeah. So that's definitely a posterized type picture there that'll look good in the man room at some point. But listen, Justin knew what he was getting into with this bout. He knew how tough this fight was going to be. He knew how tough the opponent was going to be. So I think nothing about that was surprising to Justin. And it just is what it is. You got a debut professional who hasn't fought in 7 or 8 years that just it didn't walk down the stairs in the shallow end. He went down to the other end of the pool and just jumped in the deep end. So you can't help but give props to that. And at the end of the day, if this is something that Justin wants to continue doing as a professional, I think coming out there and fighting Pat Crumpton in his debut is only going to serve him well when he takes a step back and gets in the next time with someone that is at the same point in their pro career, debut type 1-0, 0-1, that getting in the cage with Pat Crumpton is only going to serve him well in his next professional bout, should he choose to do that.
I agree 100%. Feature bout: Seth Sergo, Legion MMA, gets the win over Jose Arriaga from the Stables, Tullahoma Thai Boxing, another one of Angel's proteges. Wasn't able to stay off his back. I thought he was doing okay in the striking exchanges. He actually tagged Sergo up pretty good a couple times, but Sergo just relentless wrestling and pressure eventually gets the rear naked choke a minute and 40 seconds into this one. And looks like I don't know when we'll see Sergo again. Hopefully soon. But Jose Arriaga with a quick turnaround. Looks like we're going to have him on that January card next week. Hopefully we'll be able to announce who it's against. Jeff.
Yeah, I was actually impressed with Arriaga. I've seen a few of his amateur bouts, and it's been very up and down. Seen him look good in some amateur fights, and I've seen him, just honestly not look so good in some amateur fights. So I was a little hesitant on how it was going to translate into a pro fight with someone like Sergo, especially who's got a little experience. His record wasn't big, but Sergo's been around for a long time, fought on different promotions. So, I wasn't real high on, the possibility of Arriaga pulling out this win. But I'm definitely honest enough to say I was very impressed with Arriaga in this bout. He showed a big change from the last time I seen him compete, and some improvements, and was able to get himself out of some positions that I thought that the fight was over. And so I think with the right matchups moving forward, like you said, possibly the one that's in the talks for January, I think we'll be able to see an even better Arriaga in a more better atmosphere for him, not at home, maybe not that pressure of being at home with people, and kind of getting the away game and be able to focus on just the fight and not ticket sales and things like that, and smaller venue. And I think we'll even see an even better, Jose Arriaga in January. Yeah.
Just
Yeah, Sergio, we've seen him before, and man, he's built like he's not like, just super big or anything, but just real tight, compact, well put together wrestling type body. And he's able to implement that, so far against everybody I've seen. Arriaga was definitely more of a striker, wanted to keep it on the feet, but it's going to be hard to do that with Sergo. If you don't have pretty good takedown defense, it's going to be hard to keep it in that wheelhouse. But Seth Sergo took some big shots from Arriaga too, so anything could have happened in the fight. But Seth Sergo looked good though.
co-main event of the evening: C4 Charlie Alexander gets Warren Smith out of there with a guillotine about just over 4 minutes into the first round. Had some controversy the day before at the weigh-ins. Warren Smith 3 pounds over. Charlie didn't appreciate it, and we got it worked out, but it was a little hairy for a moment. Ultimately, Charlie gets the takedown here. Ground and pound, some good elbows from the top. Gets the guillotine win and moves on to 8-3 now. Surely knocking at the door of some sort of opportunity, I would think. Warren Smith, I believe, will be campaigning at welterweight moving forward after talking to him here. Really struggled with his weight cut here, going to 55. Justin?
Yeah, I don't know. He definitely seemed to me at weigh-ins as if he could have continued to cut when he decided he didn't want to. I don't know that 70 is necessarily the right choice. I think he's going to be real small at 70. Especially with his height. He's a pretty short fella. But Charlie is getting a lot better at being active on the ground. We've seen times where Charlie's definitely a dominant wrestler, and his control and positioning is top notch. But a lot of times he's been a little more inactive when he gets there. But he's getting that taken care of, shored up, and gets the finish in the first round. Took a couple big shots before he got the takedown, but ultimately was able to get it and controlled the fight there. As soon as it hit the ground, you kind of knew that it was probably not going to be a fun rest of the night for his opponent. And then Charlie sunk in the choke and got it done.
Jeff.
Yeah, like Justin said, I mean, in the past, Charlie would be the first to tell you, I think he said it well, in his post-fight interview is his slow starts are more for, they're more internal for him. He's trying to make things look good. He's trying to be too perfect. He's trying not to, I started to think that's what we were about to do again once it went to the ground, because he was real slow getting started again on the ground. He held position, just buried his face kind of in his opponent's chest and was controlling his arms. But I think there's a lot to be said about Warren Smith too, controlling Charlie's arms. He was making it difficult for Charlie to get some things off on the ground as well too. So some of it is Charlie's slowness of getting started on the ground, but we have to give credit to the opponent sometimes when they're on the ground, is trying to control him from getting things off on the ground. But we knew how bad that Charlie needed and wanted a finish in this fight. And he said, talking to him Sunday at the Titans game, he said he just kind of had that internal clock in his head. And he was like, I knew it was getting late in the round and I didn't want to go to a second round. I wanted the finish, so I knew it was time. So, it's not always the best idea to purposely and knowingly go to your back. He said, but I saw the opening and I snatched it, when I saw it. But again, he also, admitted and said too, he's like, I've been hit in the past with past opponents. Logan got, some punches through on me, this and that. He said, but Warren hit hard. And he said, and there was one punch that got through his guard. And he was just like, fuck that. I'm not letting him do that. He's like, I'm not letting him do that again.
Right.
So when he saw his opening, it was like, okay, it's time to just take this to the ground. Time to stop looking pretty and doing things perfect. I'm not getting hit like that again. And he knew it was time to take it to the ground. But like I said, Charlie Alexander, you wouldn't, if you really didn't know what was going on with his career, you wouldn't realize, if this was wrestling, he'd be a Paul Heyman guy. He is a Tim Lloyd guy. Just about his entire pro career, I'd say at least 80% of that has been on, a Tim Lloyd match-made card. He is, he's one of our guys, if you will. And so I got to think that it's close, man. It's close to him getting a call to a bigger show, more lights, more bells and whistles, maybe, if you will. And it'll be a feather in the cap, of you as a matchmaker, that this could be another guy that, we see move on. Selfishly, I think there's still a couple of fights out there we could maybe make to help, push his career along, good competitive fights. But, I don't know that that's, what he needs or so I guess a manager would argue that it's not what he needs, that it's time to move on. I don't know. I'd be interested to see. I selfishly hate to see him go because I love watching him compete in person locally in the state of Tennessee. But, congratulations to him. I know he needed it. He needed the win. It's a good record now. He's never going to be satisfied because he always looks back and thinks that, realistically, I should be 10-1, in his mind right now. Truly feeling that his only loss would be Damir Fahabovic. He said,
way back in the pro debut for
jumping out there as
pro debut.
Debuts jumping out against Damir, which is crazy. But he feels that he lost, won the David Robbins fight, still in his heart, and he knows he slipped up against Jordan Weeks and took him lightly, and just made a tactical, error and mistake. So, it was a good night for him, good fight for him. I definitely agree with Justin that I don't know that 170 is the answer for Warren Smith, because I've seen some hoss-ass 170s and then tall 170s cutting from 200 pounds to 170. I don't know. He's in a weird spot right now.
Yeah. At the same time, though, if he's come to the spot where he's just no longer he wasn't even willing to continue to attempt it. So that kind of tells me that his he's no longer in that kind of mindset where he's going to do what it takes. You know what I mean, to get there.
Mm-hmm.
So that brings us to the main event, flyweights. And Dustin Ortiz makes a homecoming. Man, an honor to work with Dustin. Class act all around. Very just so good when it comes to just making sure he went around and talked to everyone, made sure that he made it known how appreciative he was of whatever that person was doing there to be a part of the show. I think it was a long way, man. It really does. Just a very down to earth guy. Didn't big dog anybody. There was never a time where this guy thinks he's full of himself. No, very very humble guy. Pleasure to work with. He gets the win over Dylan Tolbert, also a consummate professional. Guillotine choke about 3 minutes into the first round. Weird fight because it's like Dylan Tolbert was having some good positional moments early in the fight, but it was just like you knew that the back class of Dustin was so much that if you didn't I thought for Tolbert to have a chance to win this fight, he had to have something explosive happen to either just latch on a choke that's so deep that can't be gotten out of, or land some sort of ground and pound that's so heavy that it put Dustin on Queer Street, if you will. But he would get those positional advantages, but wasn't able to capitalize on them quick enough before Dustin had immediately reverse position. A guy with that kind of back class, you're not going to be able to just kind of out grapple him per se for long. And like I said, Tolbert had his moments, but Ortiz's backlash showed in spades, and got that win in front of his hometown crowd and sent him home happy. Jeff, your take?
Yeah, everything you said was 100% spot on. Dustin Ortiz could have easily came in here and, like you said, kind of big dogged everybody and demanded his own dressing room and been pushy at weigh-ins because he wants to get we just didn't see any of that. The kid was all smiles from the moment he walked in the door. It was very refreshing just to see him. Like you said, I saw him thanking the photographers. I saw him thanking the people doing paperwork, thanking everybody. Went back in the back with the locker room with your debut amateurs, on the card and treated them just the same as he wanted to be treated. But Tolbert was a dog in this fight. Just watching from cage side, just that kind of those moments where you're like, damn, he's in some really good positions here with Dustin. Like where if you were a Dustin Ortiz fan and they're supporting him, you may have kind of cringed a little bit, going like, that's not a real good position to be in. For you and me, Tim, kind of sitting there, we recognize those positions, but we also immediately recognized how calm Dustin Ortiz is in those positions. When you've been in those positions against the current UFC champion, you've been in those positions against Joseph Benavidez and guys like that, it's probably real hard to get him rattled in the cage and get him nervous. He is the definition of salty vet, and there's nothing he hasn't seen. So he was biding his time, working through those positions. But Dylan Tolbert is tall for that weight class. His wrestling, I think, was underappreciated or under-recognized coming in because he had a really good, solid wrestling. And I think Dylan Tolbert coming back, whether it be to the underground, to Aries, or anything like that in our region, in our state, beats a lot of guys in our area. And he wants to come back. He said, hell, I got a Tennessee license now, bring me back. He did bleed a lot on the canvas when we were cleaning up. Soaked through the canvas on us. Left his DNA in the state of Tennessee. But man, the kid was such a pleasure to work with, and I'm so glad that it ended up being him. If you understand what I'm saying, I'm glad it was him, and I'm glad it wasn't someone else that came in with a different chip on their shoulder, a different attitude. I couldn't be happier about who the other side of that main event ended up being for Dustin, because it was a pleasure working with both of them, and it was really cool just to watch Dustin have his moment. afterwards with his brothers, his sisters, his friends from high school, his family. Um, it was really nice to see, and again, a feather in the cap for the promotion, for Taylor and the Underground, and just your second fight to have a 14-time UFC vet as your main event is huge. And once again, we're at the end of this recap and reaction, and we're talking again about how awesome an Underground show was. And I think this guy's really building something special in Nashville with these shows. He's not trying to overdo it and do this thing every month or every 2 months. He's making sure that when he gives us the call and says, let's do another one, it's been enough time where people are wanting it, they need it, they're excited about it. And once again, just like Tim, I know you saw on the Underground one, is we've had another show now where the days after the show where you've got pretty much the entire card asking to be on the next one again and when's the next one. And man, those things are priceless. You can't put a value on those things.
No, it means everybody's done their job well, man. That means everybody has done what they set out to do, and it's always nice to have the afterglow of that, knowing that you didn't let anybody down. You didn't. Nobody had a sour taste in their mouth after the event or anything like that. Justin, wrap us up. Final take of the day.
Yeah, man. Just to kind of continue on Dylan, I was able to share the locker room with him, and like you guys said, consummate professional. He came to fight. He was definitely the B side, obviously, coming in against Ortiz, but you couldn't have told him that. He was there to win, and I think he put on a good fight for the fans. And Dustin Ortiz, man, that's an OG from the UFC that people have been watching for a long time, and just to have the chance to get to watch him compete live, is something you don't get very often. So that was really fun to be a part of, and he looked good out there, man. I'm excited to see what the future holds for Dustin. I think he's should be back in the UFC right now, since they've decided not to get rid of the division, and maybe as soon as his contract is up with Brave, we'll see him back over there again.
And that is going to do it for our recap and reactions. Underground 2 is in the books. A lot of fun that night, man. Really looking forward to doing it again. What's it looking like the summer, Jeff? Will be the Underground Nashville Underground will return late summer potentially.
Yeah. Just briefly talking to Mr. Hood, and that's kind of the plan. Get through the holidays, get through the spring, see what summer has. Maybe the beginning of summer, maybe the end of summer. But that's the time frame that he's looking at.
So stay tuned. We'll try to keep everybody busy in the meantime. I know we'll be plenty busy. Man, happy holidays, everybody out there. If you would give us a little like, if you would subscribe so you can keep up. We got 5 videos posting every day. You should, if you check in about every day, you should see a new fight video for the next week or two. So make sure you subscribe, give us a like, and we'll be back next week as we start the trek towards 2022. Aries 3 goes down January 7th at the Joe, so we should start having some fights to deliver to you all, some announcements and interviews and all that good shit. For Justin Watson, Jeff Hobbs, I'm Tim Loy signing out for another edition of The 0 Hour. Gobble, gobble, motherfuckers.